Hello and welcome back to another Will It Forge watching paint dry stream. We're hoping, at least other than the pen work, we're hoping to have our picture finished today. There's not a lot left to it, so it's more a question of variability of colors left. I haven't been back to the store to buy more, and I might end up regretting that, although my budget certainly does not. So it's a matter of the cups and the leaves and trying to piece something together for the last little bit. And then we'll get into the black lining. Now, the person who this is for happens to know that something is being done. She just doesn't know what, and it is possible that her impatience may take over and have her hit the stream. We'll just kind of find out. One other thing to note, when I've been doing the straight no chaser, I have messed a little bit because I did end up getting some pieces that were actually from albums and rather than the live shows. And while they encourage the recording and sharing of the live shows, they don't control the albums. Those are owned by Warner Brothers Media, who has claimed some of them, so I'm muting out sections of some of my other videos because, well, it's not a strike on my channel, and I'm not being hurt by it. I don't actually want to have copy claimed content if I can avoid it. So I'm taking that and I'm muting those out, and so you end up with, if you find and try to watch the older streams, which are all unlisted at present on YouTube, you will run into blank spaces as they're being processed out. Now, the first part I'm going to do today is just try and finish up this space in the cup. Oh, helps if we get our coming soon off the screen. I'm so professional, I know. Let's see if I can't silence my phone so it doesn't beep at us too. So ain't that quality programming. A little extra noise there and not being quite ready for stuff. So as I said, I'm going to first start off with this space in here, see if I can't finish off the cup other than the black lining. The black lining will be pretty easy to do by comparison. I do still have music from Straight No Chaser. I'm just trying to be careful to limit to only stuff recorded by fans from their live shows, because that's the stuff that sharing is encouraged. With that, I've not actually heard all the pieces I'm sharing today, so yeah, bear with that. And here comes some, well, I get to some of this painting, I hope. Girls hitch hallelujah, girls hitch hallelujah, girls hitch hallelujah.
evening, everyone. Please welcome to the stage Atlantic Records recording artist Straight No Chaser.
Hold your tail back, just keep your eyes on me. I said you're holding back. She said, shut up and dance with me. This woman is my destiny. She said, ooh, shut up and dance with me. We were making dumb songs. I came up to physical kryptonite. Help us to the bass and the fade. Oh, we were bound to get together, bound to get together. She took my arm. I don't know how it happened. We took the floor. She said, hold your tail back, just keep your eyes on me. I said you're holding back. She said, shut up and dance with me. This woman is my destiny. She said, ooh, shut up and dance with me. I'm back with this dress and some beat up sticks. My discotheque, Juliet, teenage dream. I felt it in my chest as she looked at me. I knew we were bound to be together, bound to be together. She took my arms. I don't know how it happened. We took the floor. She said, don't you dare look back. Just keep your eyes on me. I said you're holding back. She said, shut up and dance with me. This woman is my destiny. She said, ooh, shut up and dance with me. Deep in her eyes, I think I see the future. I realize this is my last chance. She took my arm. I don't know how it happened. We hit the floor. She said, don't you dare look back. Just keep your eyes on me. I said you're holding back. She said, shut up and dance with me. This woman is my destiny. She said, ooh, shut up and dance. Don't you dare look back. Just keep your eyes on me. I said you're holding back. She said, shut up and dance with me. This woman is my destiny. She said, ooh, shut up and dance with me. Shut up and dance with me. Yeah, shut up and dance with me. Oh, shut up and dance with me.
Creepy stalker hiding in the shadows makes girls sing using lots of vibrato. Is he there to hurt her or be her vocal teacher? And why does it only happen late at night? How did this ever seem alright?
Memory, this show causes me agony. Not to mention my allergies from these cats all around. Yes, it's misery. Men and women dressed up as cats. Wish these memories would fade away. 525,000 choirs have sung this. 525,000 versions were bad. Everyone in rents was dying or homeless. Thanks to the writer, we all left sad. I need a hug. This song is annoying. We're singing it anyway.
We're at war, another day across our country. Instead of fighting, we just dance and sing. I don't think that helps anyone, but obviously it's way more fun. We're at.
Did you see the new movie? Who was in charge of casting? Everyone can sing.
Why did they choose Russell Crowe?
Why did they think he could sing?
Seriously, he was awful.
He should never sing again.
Voices monotone.
Auto-tune can't save you now.
Did they not think we would care?
The music builds, the end is near. We're at war.
This revolution, 'cause our military sucks. We don't have any.
Now sure you or anyone has ever learned to use a gun will lose this war, but we'll be sure to nail this choreography. For Broadway, one day more.
Hark how the bells, sweet silver bells, all seem to say, throw cares away. Christmas is here, bringing good cheer to young and old. Dog and the bull, ding dong ding dong down is their song. Joyful ring, all caroling. One seems to hear words of good cheer from everywhere, filling the air. Oh, how they pound, raising the sound, roaring the dale, telling the tale, gaily they ring. While people sing songs of good cheer, Christmas is here. Ding dong ding dong, Merry Christmas, ding joyful Merry Christmas. All they said, all without it, ding joyful tone to every home. Hark how the bells, sweet silver bells, all seem to sing the cares away. Christmas is here, bringing a cheer to young and old. Dog and the bull, ding dong ding dong, down is their song. Ding joyful ring, all caroling. One seems to hear words of good cheer from everywhere, filling the air. Oh, how they pound, raising the sound, roaring the tale, telling the tale, gaily they ring. While people sing songs of good cheer, Christmas is here. Ding dong ding dong, Merry Christmas, ding joyful Merry Christmas. All they said, all without end, ding joyful tone to every home. All they said, all without end, joyful tone to every home. Ding dong ding dong.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, one of the best songs from the 1960s, one of the quintessential hits, written and performed by Ben E. King. Here is Stand By Me.
When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we see. No, I won't be afraid. No, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me, baby. Stand by me. If the skies that we look upon should crumble and fall, and the mountains should crumble into the sea, I won't cry, no, I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me, baby. Stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, won't you stand by me? Oh, I want you to stand. Come on and stand by me. Whenever you're in trouble, won't you stand by me? Oh, I want you to stand. Come on and stand by me, baby. Stand by me. Stand by me. Oh, I want you to stand. Come on and stand by me, baby. Stand by me. Whoa, stand by me. Whoa, stand by me. Come on, baby. Stand by me, baby. Stand by
And that's just about it for the cup, I think. You can keep a combination of bright and more dull colors. Give me just a moment. I'm going to get some white for touching up a few things here and there before we move up to the leaves. Throwing a few sips of my coffee too, which is still too warm. On the good news front, the pneumonia is past. I just have you could call it a residual of Michigan seasonal crud. And that really does a number on your respiration in any season where you have allergens. So go figure. Means that sadly this is going to stay with me past spring, winter, summer. Come by those allergies, honestly. My doctor is now trying to convince me to move someplace warmer and drier like Arizona. For which I just need to win the lottery and get a Twitter friend who's also a contractor and builder to refurbish a missile silo for me, and I could probably do an Arizona residence. So the part that I'm going to be doing now, and it's going to be really dull, is I'm painting white on white for the spots where a little extra color got off to the side. And I want to clean that up relatively early in. So let's see. Got some of Straight No Chaser's show from Harrah's where they did some different years. Line up a few decades for that. This is going to include 80s hair bands, 60s, 50s, the 90s, and 2000s. It's a nice mix, and I don't have them in year order, so be prepared for a roller coaster ride.
2, 1, 2, 3. Down, 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 baby, down, 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 baby, down, 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 baby, down. Whoa, 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 whoa. I will love you, darling. So come down with me, down, 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 baby, down to see. I need you, darling. So come down with me. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Yes, I need you. Yes, I really need you. Please say you'll never leave me. Yes, I need you. Yes, I really need you.
Never give me a chance.
Come, 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 come into my arms. Tell me, baby, we will never part. I need you, darling. So come go with me. You don't remember me, but I remember you. 'Twas not so long ago. You broke my heart in two. Tears on my pillow, pain in my heart, caused by you. Love is not a gadget. Love is not a toy. When you find the one you love, she'll fill your heart with joy, and we can start anew. I wouldn't hesitate. I'd gladly take you back. Tempt the hands of fate. Tears on my pillow, pain in my heart, caused by you.
Oh yes, I'm the great pretender. Pretending that I'm doing well. My need is such, I pretend too much. Only but no one can tell. Too real is this feeling of make-believe. Too real is to feel what my heart can't conceal. I'm pretending that you're still
Well, since my baby left me, I found a new place to dwell. It's down at the end of Lonely Street, and heartache will tell, baby. I've been so lonely, baby. I've been so lonely. I've been so lonely, I could die. Although it's always crowded, you still can find some room for broken-hearted lovers to cry among the gloom. Now, baby, I've been so lonely, baby. I've been so lonely. I've been so lonely, I could die. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time.
Well, that's true.
I don't want no other love. Baby, it's just you and I think I just want to be your daddy.
Amen.
I'm all shook up on. Oh, yeah. Now please don't ask me what's on my mind. I'm a little messed up, but feeling fine. When I meet a girl and I know best on my heart beats so it scares me to death when I touch my hand. What you like? Her lips are like a volcano is hot. I'm proud to say that she's my buttercup. I'm in love. I'm all shook up on. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm all shook up. Oh, when the sun beats down, does it top on the roof? And your shoes get so hot, you wish your tires
Feet for fireproof.
Everybody in county jail. Prison man was there, they began to wail. Joint was jumping and the joint began to swing. Murder in the night down, jailbird sing.
Another boardwalk.
Down by the sea.
On a plane
You with my man, so where I'll be.
Man was jumping and the joint began to swing. Murder in the night down, jailbird sing. Let's rock. Everybody, let's rock. Let's rock it. Oh, let's rock. Everybody in the whole cell block. We dance to the jailhouse rock. Under the boardwalk, boardwalk. Dance to the jailhouse rock. Under the boardwalk, boardwalk. Dance to the jailhouse rock. Under the boardwalk, 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 jailhouse rock. Now wait a minute. I feel love. It feels so good to me. How y'all doing? Time to put some soul in this place. You know you make me wanna throw my hands up, throw my heels up, throw my head back. Come on now, don't forget to say you will. Don't forget to say yeah. Say it with now, baby. Come on. Say that you yeah. Come on. A little bit softer now. 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 A little bit softer now.
Sorry, Corey. Thanks for the Scotch appreciation. That was nice. That was nice. All right, as we said, we're moving on to the last 2 decades. We combine the last 2 decades, the 90s and the 2000s together. The reason why we do that is because we can't keep you from the bar and the casino for much longer at this point. So, such a great decade, the 90s for us, and Straight No Chaser, that was our birth. We all met back in 1996 at Indiana University, sang for the first time. That's right. That's why we wear the red ties, the Hoosiers. We were there for 3 years and graduated around the year 2000, went our separate ways. And thanks to Al Gore for inventing the internet, we uploaded a video on YouTube. Actually, Randy did that, one of the guys in the group, and the video, 12 Days of Christmas, went viral. In 2007, we were signed to a record deal with Paul Records. So, yeah. That's the Straight No Chaser history of the past 20 years. We'd now like to give you the music history of the last 20 years. The way we're going to do that is we got the Straight No Chaser jukebox over there that DR's leaning on. We're all going to pick a few songs, some of our favorites from the past 2 decades. So, DR, why don't you start it off?
Oh man, everybody loves this 90s classic. Here we go. If there was a problem, yo, I'll solve it. Check out the hook while my DJ revolves. Yo, let's get at it. We're T-Bug.
I got one.
Yo, I'm definitely not afraid to admit, when my friends weren't around, I used to rock out to this one in my car. My loneliness is killing me, and I want to rest. Silly, when I'm not with you, I lose my mind. Give me a sign. Give me, baby, one more time. My baby, don't mess around, because she loves me so, and this I know for sure.
And that's not me. Let's see. Oh, that is actually me. I think that's what happens when you hit your space bar while you're trying to do other stuff.
Ro, you got the last one.
Yeah, I just don't think they feel it. So I'm gonna start this party off like this.
My name is Randy, and I'm from Chicago, where you're either a Cubs fan or a Sox fan. And out near New York, you might be either a Yankees fan or this season a Yankees fan. But in the 60s, during the British invasion, there were two bands that stood out above all the rest, except we couldn't just pick one of them.
You know I need someone, yeah. Help, I need somebody, help, just anybody. You know I need someone, yeah. When I was younger, so much younger than today, I never needed anybody's help in any way. But now these days are gone, I'm not so self-assured. Now I find a change of mind and open up the door. Help me if you can, I'm feeling down. And I do appreciate you being around. So help me get my feet back on the ground. Won't you please, please help me? Help me, help me. I can't get no satisfaction. I can't get no satisfaction. 'Cause I try, and I try, and I try, and I try. I can't get no, I can't get no, I can't get no satisfaction. Your beast of burden, my back was broke, but it's a hurting, and all I want is for you to make love to me. All you need is love, love. There are places I'll remember all my life, though some have changed, some forever, not for better. Some have gone and some remain. All these places have their moments with lovers and friends. I still can recall some are dead and some are living. In my life, I've loved them all. You can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want. When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. In my hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, speaking.
Well, this right here should give you an idea of how well the black is just gonna pop out on this. Now, the downside of this is supposedly fine tip paint pen in acrylic is not very fine tip. It's actually quite broad. So I'm gonna have to do at least some of the lining, actually most of the lining, in black oil instead of black acrylic. So I'll have to dig out my oil pens. I do have a spare one of those too if the one I've got runs out. But this gives you that real clear idea of just what it does for that color. And I got a little space here in the nose that I can get with the black acrylic too. And then it'll be over to the black oil, which I'll have to find real quickly. And of course, the exposed canvas just loves the paint. Actually is the basis for several of the things that I paint or color, is that the part that's laser exposed just loves the color, and the part that isn't shrugs it off. Not quite the same with paints on canvas, but when it comes to this lining thing, the parts that are laser exposed do definitely take the paint more than parts that haven't been. And I've been really good at getting paint on myself this time. Is to do with keeping overpainting the areas I've already worked on. So I'm going to throw a tune in. I'm going to go get my black oil pen that can do the finer lining better.
I didn't do it.
She was more like a beauty queen. I said,
Okay, and so just trying to get the start of this, you can see right here just how much the black makes it pop. Now I've got that, and I've got to clean up a few lines in there, but it's mostly a matter of just getting the pen and drawing in the right spot. And some things that could have a touch up on, you know, you might look at them and say, well, that could be a little bit of a touch up. You just kind of pass them by, because you get the black creating your bounding for the rest. And then some things you look back at them and say, like where you get almost lines across the gold, say it like right here, a couple of spots where it's almost across, where we'll get just a little bit of touch-up paint for it. But you can really see from this just how much difference the black actually makes to the final picture. And that's just something that I learned along the way when I was doing one of my other pictures. And this is a simple, very fine point, black oil paint pen from Craftsmart. I got this one at Hobby Lobby. It is a multi-surface pen, so it's things like metal, wood, glass, porcelain, stone, and obviously canvas is fine too. Just the expectation with this pen is what goes on with this pen, you expect it to stay on. And this is where the magnifier helps too, because it is paying close attention to detail and understanding that you're going to lose just a little bit of an edge to the paint, but it's much finer point than the acrylic pen was. You know, like that's, if that's what passes for fine point, I have to get to microscopic points, because that one was just a huge rounded tip. This one's fun thing with this is you're going beyond staying inside the lines to staying on the lines. And figuring out all the places that may have gotten paint that were actually engraved. And maybe missing a few spots on that, and painting a line where there wasn't one, it does actually rest quite nicely on that, because you're making it in the black. You can kind of create lines along the way too, and unless it's really egregious, it doesn't stand out of the ordinary from the rest of what you're doing. So if you're really bad at coloring and staying inside the lines, do your paints and then use a paint pen to put the lines back. And as I see, I was inside the lines. It's perfectly inside the lines. For the record, I have not done this. A little bit too much of a perfectionist. But it's an interesting notion. Hey Kyler, good to see you. Yeah, it is coming along nicely. Other than what I'm going to do with this background area, it is all done as far as the painting and a couple of touch-up pieces. So I'm taking and I'm re-adding the lines, and as you can see, like this color here versus this color here, just see how much the color just stands out and really jumps at you. Granted, it jumps at you non-aggressively. Even if color jumps at you aggressively, it's time to reach for the self-defense. Now, don't have a branch out yet on the Straight No Chaser, and I'm trying to limit myself to the Straight No Chaser live shows, so that I get the stuff where they're encouraging people to record and share. But you'd mentioned an interest in the acapella and everything. I have got this singer and musician. His name is Peter Hollins. And I've reached out to Peter for permission or licensing to try and add some of his music to my streams. But in the meantime, I wanted to throw this in the chat. It's linked to his channel. He does a lot of interpretations of Disney stuff and other movie stuff. And I just totally I totally love listening to Peter Hollins. He gets me through some of my work days. And I told him that whether he gave me permission to stream the music or not, I was going to share the link. So, so there's that. Picking up. Let's get their ever great movie medley.
There are dinosaurs in Jurassic Park. Oh no, they just escaped.
the school. He was a cowboy with a science background. He was searching for a cub while fighting pirates and bad guys and running from boulders in a cave. Life is a box of chocolates, he said, and he really had to pee. Not on the run, he sat on that bench, waiting to see Jenny. They had a child that came from the Sixth Sense, 10 people he could see. Bruce Willis nabbed the whole time, what a great movie. Have you seen this movie? Our best movie gone. But this famous movie song,
You probably know.
we'll show you how the song is used in movies and show your favorite show. When Walter and Eddie are running in slow. Nobody until you wrote this great story. The underdog was in the end, always young and running up the stairs, push a damn bunch of cows to train. Oh, Philadelphia. Wars, more like bizarre wars. Too many prequels can't follow along. More like a hider. Saber to history's son. Now, we're grateful that you saved everyone. But why did you kiss your sister? We know she was not in that door bikini. But come on, man, she's still family. Family and we Star Wars, Star Wars, Star Wars, ya-da-da-da. Hope you enjoy R.C.C. movie medley. You should know.
So what do you think of the way that the black makes the color stand out on this? Me, I rather like it. Oh, that one's gonna need some white paint. And because of some of the touch-up work and what I'm thinking to do with the background, there is going to be at least one more painting stream on this one, although likely not as long of one. Because I think before I do the background, I'm going to have to do a touch-up on all the white so it doesn't stand out too much. Because I don't have exactly the same tone of white that they've got for the board. Which is a nuisance, let me tell you. Almost as much of a nuisance as getting paint on me. One of the beauties of doing this after you've already done the painting and everything is you can use the edge of the engraving and the edge of the paint a little bit, both for guiding. You just have to be careful because it's easy to go off the edge of either the engraving or the paint. Now, because this is the oil and not the acrylic, I get a few fumes too, but nothing too terrible yet. But this shows where I'll end up with getting just a little bit of touch up on the white. And I'm serious about that Peter Hollins. Maybe don't check him out while I'm streaming, but definitely check him out. He is worth listening to. And if you like him and Straight No Chaser, I've got a few others I'll find for you. Let's see, I had the fun medley from Harrah's. It's just a matter of finding the right one. Or maybe that one didn't work out. The tail end of a Christmas one from a live performance.
yeah.
And for what I'm doing now, nothing can stop me except for, you know, things like crashing aircraft or running out of paint. And I'm really counting on not running out of paint. I do have another one of these pens with the oil in this size. I believe this fineness of tip if this one runs out. I try to keep them in stock specifically because of this kind of activity. And these do not require nearly the fine control of that fine detail brushwork I've been doing on some of this. So I'm trying not to have it go too wild and out of control. And just like that, this portion just, it's the most eye-catching part of the picture. If you disagree with me on that, I do want to hear, I just don't care. Something like that. No, seriously, if you disagree on that, I'm interested in other points of view. I'm not sure that I'd agree, but I'm definitely interested in other points of view.
This is what
So yeah, the agenda for this one is to finish this lining, do the touch-up on the white background, and maybe 1 or 2 color spots. Like I got a spot of gold here that I really want to leave, clean the black from. Then the final color option I have for this background area here, like the right behind the picture stuff, I don't think I want it for the whole canvas board, just for what would be behind the picture, just a little bit out from it to kind of stand out. And then sealing it up, which sealing it up is either going to be a clear gloss Rust-Oleum kind of thing, where I'm just spraying on a clear coat onto it, or I might go crazy and do the pour on acrylics again. Though that's a little bit time consuming and even a little bit messy, so not making any promises to that yet, except for I'm going to be clear coating it with something. Now, thankfully, the line work goes on really quickly, so this isn't going to be a super long process like some of my streams. Trying to get this done, and I figure since the white on the white isn't part of the picture, I don't feel bad about doing that touch up off camera. I should be able to finish the pen work, maybe do a little bit of touch up on camera, and then the finishing touch up of the white on white off camera. Come back next week for the just the background effect, you could say, which is when we'll decide if it's the whole background or just closer to the picture, the way I'm kind of thinking in my head. I'd say envisioning, but I don't actually have very good visualization skills for stuff like this. I don't do well at trying to picture things in my head. You do that thing to visualize your objective. No, thanks, can't. But as you can see, I can still get to my objective. And just pause there for a moment. Well, and get around this stuff here. I'm actually going to say something that's very bad luck from the perspective of this artwork. I've been quite impressed with how long this paint pen has lasted, considering I have lined several pieces with it. This is not the first or even the second piece that I've lined with this paint pen, and it is showing no signs of stopping yet, which means it's probably going to do it when I'm really counting on it. And there's a spot where it didn't have the line before, but I put it in, it just kind of looks like it belongs. So hey, take a black pen and customize your coloring pages. Having trouble with those lines? Make a few lines of your own. You're still staying inside lines, so it's hardly cheating. But now just take a look at this part that we've got done with the black pen. And I wanted to get it in the face section because you've got a matched side-by-side comparison. Well, sort of side-by-side. There's a little bit of black in here from the acrylic paint pen. But look at this section here compared to this section here and just how much it stands out. And I am all about the standing out and contrasts and contrasting colors. Get the black in there so that the other colors are really boosted. And it just makes, makes all the difference between this half and this half. So I'm going to keep at it. And I think this is the one.
People asking, what do you do? Because I'm at home all day, and they're wondering about that. And I say, well, I'm in an a cappella group. It's all guys and no instruments, and we go out and sing, and they laugh for about 15 minutes, and then they say, oh, you're serious? You're really in a boy band? I say, no, nay, no. I'm not in a boy band. I'm in a man band. Dad. So in the spirit of the boy bands, we know there is a lineage there, back to the 60s and 70s with the Jackson 5, in through the 1990s when you had all those bands that at the time were super cool, and then in the 2000s they weren't so cool, and now you're paying 4 times the ticket price to watch their world reunion tour. You know who you are. And all the way up to today, boy bands have been prevalent, so we decided let's put together a mashup for you guys of some of the greatest boy band songs of all time. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Stop. You better save it. Stop for love. You better save it. Stop to losing it. Stop to love you, save it.
And for anyone out there who follows the Lords of the Night and their friends and hasn't heard yet, apparently YouTube decided to scrap Drunken Uncle, and it isn't really clear why, other than trying to say he, in the past, violated guidelines that they just issued now. And annoying stuff like that, and it's things like that that are doing a good job of keeping me out of political YouTube when so many things are trying to drag me into it. The last thing I need is to get a ban on a secondary or tertiary channel and take away my primary stuff. Not that I'm making money off the channels, but I am actually having fun, and I do think it's helping me some with my communications to jabber at you folks, hoping you're there and actually listening. Actually kind of surprised that people like listening to me. Never fails to amaze, but hey, it's your choice of what to do with your time. And aside from saying you got lousy taste, I'm not going to knock you too much for it, because you're choosing to spend time with me when it's time that I'm choosing to share. And that doesn't happen tons either, so that, and it's one thing to disparage myself, it's another thing to disparage other people. But YouTube doing this thing with their creators and the closest I heard to an explanation, I don't know if it's actually correct or not, is it had to do with some of the stuff that he said about Onision. And anybody that knows much about Onision knows that if anybody actually deserves to get bullied off the internet, it's somebody like Onision. And that's the only thing I'm going to say about Onision, because he actively seeks people who say negative things about him or criticizes him to try and get them deplatformed. And to be careful here, I think the pen is running out. Like I said, it's been used in multiple pictures for this same effect, so I wouldn't actually be surprised if it's running out of paint. Figure there's only so much you can fit in a tiny pen like this. And the pen part, as you can see, goes pretty quickly. Especially if you don't mind a few lines here and there. But we're almost done with the hedgehog on the pen, and then it's just the cup. And while the pen seems to be getting close to running low, I am going to try and run it dry Because of all the things I'm wasteful about, expensive paint pens ain't on the list. Since I put the paint out on a plate for the brushes to use and everything, I probably wasted as much acrylic paint as I put on the picture, maybe even 2 or 3 times as much. But this pen costs more than 2 or 3 bottles of acrylic paint and has specific desirable functionality beyond just the color, which is otherwise kind of drab. What am I saying? Black is still my favorite color. So I try not to waste the pen as opposed to using it. And what I'm seeing so far is I just got some places with the metallics is where it stands out the most that the pen has gone off the rails. And the problem with some of the other colors, the non-metallics, is knowing after the fact exactly which color it is. The metallics, that's easy. And I do think I'm going to stay with the original plan and have the eye section there where it's not colored right now remain white. Because it just kind of gives it a standout from all of the color. Let's see. Oh yeah, this one from the MGM.
Okay, so even the jokes seem fresh. Well, many of you may also be seeing for the very first time an a cappella show. Any first-time a cappella audience members out there? No, say not you. Anybody? Okay, you can admit it. It's okay. We're gonna explain kind of how we do this. You might be thinking, are there background tracks? Are there background vocals or a percussion? I hear some percussion. I'm gonna assure you that everything you're hearing comes from these 10 guys through these mics out through the speakers. Nothing else, no filters, no tracks, no nothing. It's gluten-free, it's fat-free, it's fantastic for you. So yeah, so that's what you come to Vegas for, right? Health reasons. Sure, of course. Well, we're going to show you kind of how we do that. Now, in each song we've got, in a lot of songs we've got a vocal percussion guy. And on this next one, that's going to be Mr. Tyler Trev. He's going to kind of show you how he does that. Yeah, come on. Go for it, Ty. You can take off. Thanks for coming, man. He's got to get to the club right now. So So that's our vocal percussion, and that kind of switches around between a couple of guys. Then at the very top, you're going to be hearing the highest voices, the tenors. Tenors, you want to show? Okay, take a little bow. Sure, give them a round of applause. Now, these guys, they sing the high parts. It's usually the solos or the melody. We call it in the business the easy part. That's what they do. So, technical term. I didn't make it up. So, that's what they do. Then the next part below that are the baritones. Baritones, you want to take a bow? You just ask someone to call you, Dave? They don't have your number. They don't. His number is 1-800 boring baritone parts. So what they do is, well, we have no idea what they do, but they're fun to hang out with after the show if you see them out on the casino floor losing. So then at the very bottom, you've got Randy and I, and we are the basses. We sing the bass part. Sure. Okay. It's a very lonely, boring part, a lot of dums and doo-ba-doo-wahs, and we never get to sing any of those coveted words. Well, special night tonight because we are about to turn things around. Enjoy.
1, 2, 3, 4, go! Because you know I'm all about that bass. Go tenors, I'm all about that bass. Got that bass. Go tenors, I'm all about that bass. Got that bass. Go tenors, I'm all about that bass. Got that bass.
Bass, bass. Yeah, it's pretty clear. I ain't no tenor too, but I can make you move like I'm supposed to do. Cause I got that boom boom that all the girls chase, and all the low notes and all the right places. I hear those tenors screaming, trying to reach the top. Sound like a bunch of girls. Come on, now make it stop. If you like bass, bass, then raise them up. Cause every octave that I sing is perfect bottom to the top. Yeah, my mama, she told me don't worry about those tenor guys. She said that girls like a low voice to whisper in their ear at night. My voice is dreamy, it's getting so I won't be a pop star, no rock star, but I'll do just fine. So if that's what you're into, then go ahead and waste your time. Because you know I'm all about that bass, about that bass, no tenors. I'm all about that bass, about that bass, no tenors. I'm all about that bass, about that bass, no tenors. I'm all about that bass, about that bass, bass, bass. I'm bringing bass back. They don't have your number, Jerome. Don't those tenors sound like shrieking cats? They think they're all right. Yeah, my mama, she told me don't worry about those baritones. She said they sing the same 3 notes and never get so low. They're really boring, they'll leave you snoring. Back down to the vocal percussion guys. All you need is a bass voice to get you through the night. Because you know I'm all about that bass, no tenors. I'm all about that bass, no tenors. I'm all about that bass, no tenors. I'm all about that bass, bass. Because you know I'm all about that bass, no tenors. I'm all about that bass, no tenors. I'm all about that bass, no tenors. I'm all about that bass, bass.
Oh, Come on. Okay, I've hit the end of this pen. It's just not gonna do enough for me. So extra fine tip is what these have. And your craft stores will have paint pens with extra fine tips if they're any kind of thing like Hobby Lobby or Michael's, any craft store with a decent selection. Because I'm running out of patience with that pen is what I am, so let's... So that, and then of course, any of these pens needs a little bit of priming. And then the paint flows pretty smoothly. There we go. Yes, that other one definitely is on its last legs. As you can see how smooth this one goes again. And that's hassle I don't need on a stream. Not when I can have good, clean, flowing paint. Oh, color just shouts with this. Shouts, sings, it really gets loud. So I'm going to throw one or two more. Probably repeating things I played earlier. And try and get the outlining on the cup done.
If everybody had an ocean across the USA, then everybody be surfing California. You see the weather baggies, Rachi sandals too. Everybody was surfing USA. Well, she got her daddy's car and she drove to the hamburger stand now. She forgot all about the library like she told her old man down. And with the radio fast and goes cruising just as fast as she can now. And she'll have fun till her daddy takes the dealer away. I'm picking up good vibrations. She's giving me excitations. I'm picking up good vibrations. Good vibrations. Good vibrations. Get around.
wish they all could be California girls. Help me find out, help me get her out of my arms. Could be California girls. Wouldn't it be nice if we were older and we wouldn't have to wait so long? Now wouldn't it be nice to live together in the kind of world where we belong? I know it's gonna make it that much better if we can spend the night and stay together. Wouldn't it be nice? Oh, wouldn't it be nice? I wish they all could be California girls.
And yes, we're making very good progress on this. There's just a matter of there is a surprising lot of it to do. Every place that there was a line gets a line, which means every place where one color borders another also gets a line. And I am still trying to be careful not to grossly overpaint and go off borders and stuff. I still end up with some touch-up. I never claim to be able to stay with the lines 100% of the time. And since your fine muscle control doesn't exactly get better with age, I'm probably not going to get significant improvements on that. And I hope things are still going smoothly with the stream. Sounds coming through decent. Picture not too bad. I don't get a lot of watching of the stream done while I'm working on it, so I still rely on comments from viewers, or sometimes lack thereof, to tell me things are going smoothly. And I guess it's one place the black doesn't make a significant pop is that ultramarine, but the ultramarine still needs the contrast of the surrounding colors, and the black's really good for that. Let's see. And as far as the classic show title goes, all the paint except for the black pen is dry at this point. Black pen doesn't go on dry, but it does dry pretty quickly for an oil paint. And I repeated last week's trick of taking out the catnip spray on one of the cat's toys a little bit before the show, and those two addicts are totally blissed out at the moment. I should do that when I'm gaming with others, because Wazowski totally yells and cries for attention so loud that he's picked up by my microphone in the other, say, from another room, and like, people comment about the cat, and like, yeah, he's over at my door yelling for attention when I'm out in the living room. And I tell him that. I say, Wazowski, Dad's out here. And sometimes he comes out and looks, sometimes he doesn't. But he'll end up going back in to the hallway, to the door, and yelling again. Well, he doesn't play that game when he's in a nip-nap. Oh, I never thought of calling it that before. I have to write that down or something. For all you cat owners with addicted pets, take advantage of the nip-nap. Okay. I have to have a drink soon, but I'll throw in another. I think this one was a live show.
Got flipped. Turned upside down. I'd like to take a minute, just sit right there, and I'll tell you how I became the prince of a town called Bel Air. There are a lot of confused faces out there right now. Clearly didn't watch sitcoms in the 90s. That is the theme song from a very popular show called... That was really together, guys. That was amazing. It's like we planned this. That's awesome. Yes, that is from The Fresh Prince of Bel Air. Now, television has been around for a long time. I don't really know how long, because I don't do research for these announcements, but I figure at least like 25, 35 years minimum. And within that time, the sitcom has been a prevalent genre of television. And if you ask us on stage, what is the mark of a true sitcom? It's got to have one of those great sitcom theme songs. You guys know what I'm talking about? Yeah, those songs that you tune in just a couple minutes early every week, just so you don't miss one precious note of them. Let me give you some examples. You tell me what lines what shows these lines are from. I'll get it eventually. All right, come and listen to a story about a man named Jed. Beverly Hillbillies, Not As Together is the first one. Work on that, guys. Not a lot of people know this, actually. That show was the prequel to a very popular show now called The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Again, I don't do any research for this. It's just Wikipedia Live up here. Okay, so let me give you another one. You take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and then you have... Now we're getting it. All right, last one. This is an easy one. You all know this one. Thank you for being a friend. Golden Girls, that was really loud and soon. And you are proud of that. Yes, you must be the proud owner of a Golden Girls box set right there, I can tell. VHS? Yeah, definitely. It's the only way to watch them, real grainy-like. So, actually, I do have a little fun fact for you guys. This I did look up. This is gonna blow your minds. Madonna, today, is the same age as Blanche Devereaux was on the final season of The Golden Girls. Yeah, try sleeping tonight now. All right, so we decided to get a bunch of those great theme songs and put them into a medley for you guys. And now some of you may not be sitcom aficionados, so we created some slides that we're going to put up here to clue you in on what shows they came from. Now, we had to doctor those slightly for legal purposes, but I'm sure you won't even be able to tell. Please, enjoy.
Ready? 1, 2, 3, 8. Sunday, Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days. Thursday, Friday, happy days. The weekend comes, the cycle hums, ready to race to you. These days are all happy and free. These days are all
Share them with me.
These happy days are yours and mine. These happy days are yours and mine. Happy days. Well, it's a rare condition this day and age. Read any good news on the newspaper page. Another tradition, grand design. Some people say it's even hard to find. Well, then there must be some magic clue inside these gentle walls. Ta-da-da. It's all I see. The tower of dreams. Real love bursting out of every seam. As days go by, it's the bigger love of the family. Did I do that? A new boy in the neighborhood lives downstairs and it's understood. He's there just to take good care of me, like he's part of the family. Charles in charge of our days and our lives. Charles in charge of our wrongs and our rights. And I say, I want Charles in charge of me. 2, 3, and
Told you life was gonna be this way. It's a joke you broke, love lasting away. It's like you're always stuck in second gear. When it hasn't been your year. I'll be there for you. When the rain starts to pour, I'll be there for you. Like you've been there before, I'll be there for you. 'Cause you're there for me too. There's a time for love and a time for living. You take a chance and face the wind. An open road and road that's it. A brand new life around the bend. There were times I lost a dream or two. Found a trail, and at the end was you. There's a path you take and a path untaken. The choice is up to you, my friend. Your nights are long, but your mind awakens to a brand new life, brand new life, a brand new life around the bend. Taking your way in the world today takes everything you've got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? Come on, sing it with us. Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name. And they're always dedicated. You wanna go where people know our troubles are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name. 3, 4, 1. Bees don't fly when you can hear. Bees don't burn on the grill. It took a whole lot of trying just to get up that hill. Now we're And we're getting very close to done with the cup. Oh, all of a sudden, I've got viewers. Well, thanks for stopping by. Thank you for the lemons and the ice cream, Mythic Russ. This is definitely a mythic situation here. And for the hosting. This is a art piece here. I'm just finishing up with the line work on it. I've got a little bit of work to do in the background, a little bit of touch up. Yeah, I do get in the zone. It's why I try to get the music going a little bit. Yep, Hedgehog in a Cup. This is actually, it's a coloring page that I burned into the board, and then I painted the sections usually supposed to be colored, but the color really pops out into the picture. Like you look here, it's just kind of there, but you go where you get it outlined in the black, it really pops out a little bit. So that's what I've been working on, is getting that finished up where the lines are with this black oil paint pen. And this is a channel where I do things like the artistic expression, so to speak. I also do on occasion some games. And I'm just trying to finish off this picture, which is for a friend who suspects that something is going on but does not know exactly what. And if she hasn't stopped in to my stream, then she still is going to be in the dark as to what, but she's a little bit impatient. She does know I'm making something. And she's totally obsessed with hedgehogs, which is where this one comes in. If I do anything with hedgehogs, dogs, or other cute furries. Yeah, a message pops on DLive. I'm going to have to mess with that. I don't actually, I don't do much of anything for freehand drawing. I can just about draw convincing stick figures. But I can take something that's already there and expand upon it, and in this case make something new by bouncing formats on it, using a different media and everything. I did this really great name plaque for a friend's baby, and then he's a streamer, and one of his co-hosts on a 6 nights a week commentary and news-ish show said I should do something actually showing my process on it. So I started this one with streaming the laser burn and all the painting. I've been streaming too. You see Kyler commenting, he's been around for most of them. Don't say furries before you summon Avery. I don't summon anybody, so... I do have some coworkers who do have the arts training, and one of them has told me that the big difference between drawing at a higher level and drawing at my level tends to just be practice. Most art schools, you end up with doing the drawing and sketching and everything for just hours and hours and hours a day. So I might try and see if I can get beyond semi-convincing stick figures. But for my next couple of pieces, I'm just adapting and shifting what I'm using as far as materials and media. Yeah, DLive doesn't store much. I do have some unlisted painting videos on YouTube, I do play a certain amount of music with the stuff because it helps me stay in the zone and be entertaining at the same time. Only instead of getting their live shows, I got some of the studio recordings from Straight No Chaser, and those get copy claimed. I'm not making any money off this, but I don't really want to I don't want to have a lot of stuff out there where I'm playing stuff without rights or permission. So I've got the music being muted out on that, and it'd be faster to process that on my computer and re-upload it, but I'm doing it through YouTube just because I can tell them to mute it and I can walk away and not have to worry about it for a while, but it is slow processing. And I can cheat and tell you most of my process just involves saying, okay, I think that this color is going to go good there, even though the color wheel says that those colors shouldn't go together. And I tell the color wheel to go take a flying leap because I'm going to put the colors together that I want to. This is probably the sloppiest part of this, is adding the black that just makes the color stand out so much. I'm going to have to touch up a few of my metallic paints after this, and that's me with the fine detail brushes, which I use far more than necessary because I like that fine detail control. Well, I use the music, David. Most of the time I use the music so that I'm not I use the music so that I'm not pushing to focus on the work and the talking at the same time. I've got a bonus right now of the section that I'm just doing the lining with the pen. I can get some thoughts together in my head and then get talking to them while I'm doing that work. I don't do as much talking when I'm... Oh, darn it. I don't do as much talking when I'm doing the brush painting. The pen allows a little bit more flexibility, but I still have to be careful because then I end up drawing on the stuff that I'm already making. And I figure this picture is one more week, and then I'll be sealing it up with some kind of clear coat and giving it to my coworker, who knows that I'm making something, knows that I'm streaming. I don't think she's actually tuned into any of the streams. As of last week, I know she hasn't. Wow, talk about mods going crazy. Well, I'll tell you, I try to keep I'm not targeted at kids, but I do try and keep a family-friendly show. So, short of cursing up a storm or actually, attacking people, not gonna see too much as far as mods muting or banning you. I'm all for the keep it civil and moderately polite, and anybody's welcome. And that's the same over on my YouTube channel, which I got the same name over there. And I've got actual videos of making stuff with my laser. Otherwise, I enjoy the streaming. It's nice to talk with new people. And I got people that I follow, and I try not to make sure I don't conflict with them. I did paint it first. What it actually is it's a coloring page. Yeah, I should link the YouTube in my about, definitely. Still, I'm definitely not a pro. What this started out with a coloring page, and I took and used my laser to burn that into an art board, a white canvas board, and then I took and painted the detail in. But what happens is the colors they're just there. When you add the black lining, all the colors just kind of stand out a lot more. Everything kind of pops, so I like doing that. So after painting the detail, I'm going through with a black paint pen and just adding those lines, and I'm going to have a few pieces of touch-up work to do in the detail paint, but it's mostly gives me a nice picture that just all the colors stand out and really show up instead of just being there. There's something I learned. I'll grab a couple of pictures that I've got that I've done before on OBS, not OBS, OBS. It's a particle board kind of core to a laser plywood. And then I did one with color pencils and one with watercolors. One with watercolors, I did a paint lining like this to really make the colors stand out. Somebody banned you for saying Nosferatu is dumb? Well, if you want to call dumb around here, call me dumb, call the stuff I'm doing dumb. I can take that. Just don't call my viewers or friends dumb. I kind of take offense to that. But if it's, if it's taking me down a notch, you never take me down more notches than I'll take myself down. So, feel free. And take a look. Am I still on the screen? I should be, yeah. Yeah, when I got to this one, my idea was just to use the acrylic paints. I'm going to be lining up another MDF core with alcohol-based markers. For the color, because those can stand out really well on some of that stuff. This one, because I've been doing fine detail work on canvas, now, since I've been doing fine detail work on canvas, most of the painting's been slower. Now, Mythic Russ is a moderator. Is that because you're doing the, No, I didn't mean to mod you. Did I accidentally click? Is it saying that you're a moderator because the hosting or that? And I've got my mouse next to me, but I didn't think I clicked on anything for that. We're almost done with the cup. Well, if only I can make you a mod. I must have somehow accidentally clicked on something. But I'll tell you what, you be nice and decent about it, and I don't take it away. That's all of the black except for this one spot here. So it is pretty much down to just some touch-up stuff. Well, the paints themselves are just standard acrylics. Come in bottles like this. You can get them at your Walmart or craft stores. The paint pen itself, it's a Craft Smart. Let's grab the packaging, I think. Oh, that's the other one. So it's a pen. It's just like this. It's a Craft Smart. It's an oil-based paint pen, and it just takes and it really makes the colors stand out at the end of it. But for the colors themselves, this one was just what can I do in acrylics, and I've got a selection of acrylics from different places that just kind of turned it. So let me get the stand stuff off, and we're just going to kind of take a look at the whole picture. And as you can see, I don't put a lot of store in restrictions by the color wheel and everything. I pick colors that I think are going to go good together and do the, okay, that's got something, it needs some, oh, now it needs some red or something fiery at least. Give me something that's red or orange or yellow. Okay, now for something that's more earthy. And I just kind of, I do my own with it. This one I do have to do some touch up to the white itself, some touch up to some of the metallic, where the black kind of overdid it, into the white. Make a regular image look like an LSD. Well, I don't know about doing commissions for this kind of thing, because it is so time consuming and everything to make it as a profitable commission. It ends up being kind of pricey. But I do commissions with my laser, where I make things, engravings, customized engravings and everything. So doing something like putting a coloring page on a canvas board or a piece of wood for somebody else to color or paint or whatever is not out of reach. It's not out of consideration. In fact, I've done it before, and of course I do it for myself for the fun of different ways to do things. Just a moment here, I'm going to grab two of the boards that I've done to kind of show you what some of that variety there. Okay, so here's an example where the lines didn't get inked in afterwards. So you get some of that color really standing out. It's pretty sick pictures with that. This one was done with a coloring page on the board, but then I put a clear coat on it, and that kind of soaked into the wood and changed the coloring some, but you don't have that black in there, and so you can see where the lines are, but they just don't stand out so much. Now I did this one on just another coloring page that I did in on the board, but I did this one with watercolors, and then I inked in the lines with the black paint pen, and you see, yeah, the lines make it pop a lot more, which is why I specifically wanted to do it on the hedgehog too. And this is just watercolor on a board, and came out really nice. But this one here is basically is done for this weekend, unless we got chats. But I'll show you the picture that got me streaming this. Actually, it's not much of a picture. A friend had a baby, and me with my laser, and wish to go all out with stuff sometimes. Is there a way for me to make them into high quality pictures, high def pictures? Yeah, I could probably do that. Although the wolf suffers a little bit because of what the clear coating did to the final coloration on it. So, you know, it's not going to give you as crisp and clean as some of the other things. But I mean, so let me take and throw this. up on the screen a moment. Let's see. Well, that wasn't what I wanted to do. Let's try that again. I do still have a lot of things to still have plenty of things to learn with OBS and the like, and so sometimes stuff surprises me. Let's see if I can't get to that to scale down to the right size properly. There we go. So this right here, a friend had a baby and their first kid, named Aaliyah, and I wanted to do something different, so I just took and I made my own design and then chased it with paints and sent it off to him. Now he does this show called Lords of the Night with two of his friends 6 nights a week on YouTube, and he shared an unboxing video of it too, and everybody's loving it. Well, one of his co-hosts over on Lords of the Night said I should kind of like do some streaming, show my process a little bit, and so that's what this hedgehog has been. What a few other things are going to be is just me taking something that I've transformed in my laser and going after it from there. I might get back into doing some of the gaming, at least, well, if you want to call it Minecraft gaming. My computer's capable for just about everything but video. It's got a great processor, great memory, and the video card is rated at potato clock because I didn't buy it with the intention of specifically gaming and streaming games and everything. So it suffers sometimes when I try to do the more graphic intense stuff. I'm just trying to grab some of the other, picture or two of some of the other things that I've made. If the video's not integrated, it's not too much to change it. Yeah, it's the gaming. It's playing games where it really suffers, where it has to render the game and then it has to stream it as well, that it's suffered. Just running a cam hasn't been an issue. Though the first way that I hooked up video was just because of I didn't have a webcam other than built into my laptop, and so I was taking a IP camera app on my phone to broadcast to my PC to capture and retransmit out, and that had its share of skipping and everything. There's just one picture of one other thing that I've made. Did a this was actually a commission. So this, I had a friend, coworker, ask me about making a ring box, and about engraving on a ring box, because she was giving a new ring to her husband for Christmas, because something had happened to the original wedding band. It's kind of like upgrading. And so after looking at my options for engraving, I said, well, why can't I just make the ring box? And that's what I did. I made this ring box. It's a cube, and the final one got engraved top and bottom, but it's just this beautiful orange wood called Padauk that, as with everything else that I try to do, just kind of stood out and looked right to me. So that's kind of a sampling of what I've got. I'm trying. I don't think that I may not be able to make it work next week, but yeah, that's a photograph. That's actually my hand in a blue glove holding a ring box. Once it was finished, it was not touched by human hand until they opened it. Almost looks like yeah, I hope it looks like a picture, because I took that with my camera, well, with my phone. And then that got a custom engraving on the top and the bottom. Jay Young story for true artist. Well, yeah, I can't art quite that well. Here's something where I actually do make commissions sometimes. Just fit the screen. Just custom engraved slate coasters. Yeah, Dorian should do stand up. Definitely agreed. I can tell you, if I could draw as realistically as those pictures, I wouldn't be doing my current job. But really, I wasn't joking when I said I can almost draw convincing stick figures. They don't quite balance out or anything like that, so... What did I have? But yeah, I started streaming a while after I'd started with the videos. As far as making standalone videos, which I've got the video recorded for 2 of them for my YouTube channel. I just have to yes, the coffee thing is a joke. It's Echo Drunk Tori in your home. It's a coaster. It has several designs with my spirit animals, coffee. I think I've got one that says my blood type is coffee. And slate's fun to engrave, so always fun and easy to throw slate into the coaster. And I have to get back into making videos because I got sick. I ended up down with pneumonia, which makes it kind of hard to record voiceovers and everything. But I've got the stuff for 2 videos. I just have to script record and assemble them. So maybe those will go up before next weekend. You never know. But it was this name plaque that got me to doing the streaming of the rest. And there you have one of the laser cats. He's my backup laser safety officer, in fact, and he's deciding he's being ignored now. He wasn't being ignored before because he was blissed out on catnip, and now he thinks he wants attention. Wazowski, Dad's out here. So I'm in the living room for streaming this because the best way this works is actually to be on the floor with the camera above it, and allows me to work on it at the same time. Don't be fooled by my colors and how to mix them. I deliberately go for... I think this is going to look good next, and kind of screw the color wheel and whatever convention says. Well, this particular painting here, Six Side, I've been doing in, I think it's been 4 or 5 streams of 2 to 3.5 hour length. Though some of that length was because of chatting with viewers, being a little bit slower and distracted because I was focusing on the streaming and playing music and stuff as much as I was on focusing on the painting. So it took longer than it would take if I was just trying to do it by myself, but I still end up with having to do it in settings and everything. Aside from the time involved, I like take a color and I do that color where it looks good to me, and I end up with kind of reaching over the places I've already painted, and you end up painting yourself. I didn't do too bad this time, just a little bit of white and a little bit of green there, but especially with the streaming, the hardest thing is not painting myself over again and keeping engaged with any viewers while I'm doing the painting. So it kind of slows it down. This would still be, for this much detail, it would be probably a couple days process if I just focused on the painting. I don't stream on a daily basis. I'm usually looking for the time slot around 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern on Saturdays. I do have a day job that doesn't give me a lot of extra time for streaming during the day. I would work on something like this whenever the spirit moved me, you could say, or kind of do it in sittings day to day, but I did commit to doing this piece just on stream. So I think I've had 1 or 2 spots where I just had to touch up a little bit of color from what I had already painted that went on, I did between streams. But as far as the painting, the picking the colors, the penning in the lines, I've done that all on stream this time to share with the people who view, and I've been enjoying it. So if I can get a few, even if it's only a few viewers, I'm going to keep working on picking up art projects to do week to week, and try to do weekly. I was out a few weeks because I was sick. You don't do a lot of streaming with pneumonia, but been getting back from that, and this is for a friend at work who, if she hasn't stopped into any of the streams, doesn't know what's coming yet. She knows I'm working on something, but she's not seen any of the pictures and streams, so she may not, if she hasn't tuned into the stream, she doesn't know exactly what it is or that she's getting it for certain. and it's going to be at least one more week before it's totally finished, because I've got some touch-up work to do, and then I've got this color. I'll just bring this out. It is it's called Antique Parchment, and I'm planning on doing it around everything that's painted and kind of fading out towards the edges. So it's going to kind of give more of a slightly yellowed, I don't know if you can get a good picture of what the color actually is, but a slightly yellowed parchment look to the place that's bright white around the picture and leave the edges of the canvas board still white. And that's kind of, that will be the finishing touches on it, and then I'll seal it with something clear, so it's got a little bit of protection, because she actually does have hedgehogs and dogs and a sugar glider, guinea pigs, and she helps the local rehoming rescue for small animals, where they take in and foster small animals for a few weeks to a couple months while they get a new forever home for them. And I'm gonna be nice about this, because I could take, and that's the one thing, I gotta be a nice guy sometimes, because I could take and just making things like this and other stuff that I made for her, I could pretty much loot her paycheck every month just by making art pieces for her. And I want to be, rather than killing, say, rather than, oh, hey, I've got the goose that lays golden eggs, let's kill it and see if we can't get that gold inside, or, killing the cow that gives you milk, I do my share of generosity, and then some things I get paid for as well. But I did this for fun. I did this for fun and for viewers, for people to enjoy me making it. And because it is going to be a riot to see the look on her face when she sees it. Yeah, if you got a stream to pay attention to that early in the morning, you definitely want to make sure, or if you want to be asleep before it goes on, so you can miss it either way, you'll want to be slipping off soon. I'm actually going to be shutting down in a few minutes anyway. If any of you are interested in irreverent, politically incorrect news and commentary and everything, swing over to YouTube, Ranting Monkeys channel in 1 hour, just over an hour, starting 9 p.m. Eastern Time, Lords of the Night. 3 guys, sometimes more, they trade off on channels, and 6 nights a week they do a really fun and interesting show. Otherwise, you try to start between 4:30 or between 4 and 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturdays if I can stream. If you found me somewhat engaging and entertaining, or at least less annoying than the DMV, feel free to stop on by again. If I've been too boring, well, you know how to ignore me. Any other questions I can tackle in the next few minutes, or further afield? Hey, I got nothing wrong with Europe. Yeah, if you're in Europe, it is late. That is hours ahead of me. That's okay. I mean, one of the streamers that I follow is in the Philippines, so depending on the time of year, he's 12 to 13 hours ahead of me, so he does game streaming. I will be streaming more. You probably won't catch me streaming more than once a week. Finishing up around this time, I started about 3.5 hours ago. It's a time slot that I don't conflict with too many of the people I follow, so I'm not fighting against people that are going to overpower me for viewers. And since I watch Lords of the Night, I never hit that 9 p.m. Eastern time slot, because that's like taking a knife to an artillery fight. Dorian is a mad lad. Hey, we could all be mad lads sometimes. Probably some mad ladies in there too. I'm just getting on top of the last few things. Yeah, I do get surprised sometimes by who stops by, but there are certain times where I'm like, I want to watch the stream, so I'm not going to put a stream up in competition for them. I'm not doing this for money right now. Maybe it'll turn into money at some point, but right, I'm doing it for the enjoyment. I'm doing it to be entertaining, occasionally to be annoying. I fully admit there are people that find me more annoying than the DMV. My ex would be one of them. But yeah, I'm gonna stream more. I'd be finishing up hopefully this picture next weekend, and then it might take me a week or two to come up with to be ready for the next project. I've already come up with it. It's going to be, like I said, it's going to be using that MDF core, and then coloring it with alcohol-based markers, which I've got a huge selection of markers, more than I do of paints. But I just got to kind of take it from there, and once that one goes through, say, well, what am I going to do with it next? Oh, please, flattery doesn't get very far with the artistic thing. 80% of my talent is being able to stay inside the lines. The other 20% is picking colors that most people would say, I don't want those next to each other, and say, hey, it's kind of eye-catching. Well, thank you all for stopping by. I'm going to be shutting down too now, because what I'm doing for the picture for this weekend is done. Hopefully pick up to finish it off next weekend. The little bit of touch-up I got to do is stuff that I worry about doing on stream. I look forward to seeing you folks again if you stop by. Even if you don't, I'll be streaming if you, whatever. And thank you again.